Separation Saturday 2024. The 2024 Kentucky Derby Trail is definitely going to start to get interesting today. It is Separation Saturday with the movement of the Southwest Stakes last week to this week. We now have the Holy Bull, we have the Robert B. Lewis, we have the Withers Stakes, and last night we had the Leone Stakes at Turfway Park. Joining me today to go over the previews of the four big prep races on the Kentucky Derby Trail. We may also take a look at the Forward Gal Stakes, but we're mainly going to be focusing in on the Holy Bull, the Withers, the Southwest Stakes, and the Robert Lewis. Joining me is international handicapper Siggy Mendoza, and Siggy is going to be joining me on this show. We did a show for the Breeders' Cup. Today we're going to be talking about the Kentucky Derby prep races. And Siggy Mendoza, I know you're going to be taking a little bit of a look at some of the trip notes, and how did you kind of approach handicapping these races?
Yes, I watched some trip handicapping, some pedigree of the horses, who can go long, who has distance limitations, and it's really interesting that type of handicapping.
We have the Holy Bull Stakes, we have the Withers Stakes, the Southwest, and the Robert Lewis. We're going to go over them in post-position order today. So that means we're going to be starting off Kentucky Derby Trail, of course, 20 points to the winners of these four races. Now, the Bob Baffert horses are not eligible for the 20 points, but we will continue to move along. 10 points for second, 6 points for third, 4 points for fourth, and 2 points for fifth. And really, the 20 points is starting to make a little bit of a difference. That basically gets you in the Kentucky Derby if you can even win this round of prep, Siggy.
Yes, it is the start of the road to the Derby. This week we will see we have a better approach of the horses who are really the serious horses, and the horses that are not part of the road to the Derby.
Let's take a look at them in post-position order. We are going to be starting off with the Withers, Santa Anita. Of course, Oaklawn Park with the Southwest Stakes has the big purse. They also have the largest field, 11 horses after the scratch. We do have a couple of scratches. We'll get to those. Maycox Bay was scratched out of the Southwest. He was 3-1 morning line, and then No More Time was scratched out of the Holy Bull Stakes. Let's start off with the Withers Stakes. We do have a field of 9, Siggy, and we do have Todd Pletcher with Speed Runner at 5-1. Lightline is the 8-5 morning line favorite. Mission Beach is 6-1 on the morning line, but early on, I think a lot of people are picking Mission Beach, so he may be co-favored in this race. How did you look at this race, the Withers Stakes at Aqueduct today, Siggy?
Yes, in this race, I'm going with a long shot. I think this is not the best field. It's a really weak field. I'm going with the number 9, Canate. This horse stumbled at the start in the Jerome. I think the rest was over at the start for this horse. Interesting that he tried to win. He made a big move and tried to pass around the O, but the rest was over at the start. A horse when they stumble is not easy to recover. I really like his allowance race at Churchill Downs. He faced really tough company that allowance race. He faced Parchment Party, Catching Freedom, Fresh World. Those horses are really legit horses. This horse, I think, with a clean trip, I think he could upset the field. I was also using for exotics Speed Runner, the other Pletcher. This horse is bred to go long. He's half sibling to Brilliant Speed. You remember Brilliant Speed was third in the Belmont Stake, and he also won that race at Kineland, the Bluegrass. So there is a lot of stamina influence in this pedigree. And I'm also adding a horse based on trip handicapping. He's number 6, Society Man. I know he lost to Speed Runner last time out, but this horse was wide in both turns. That means he lost a lot of ground. and that is really impossible to win when you are wide in both turns. So this horse also with a better trip, he could hit the board.
Yes, another trip to note is Lightline. You know, in that last race, he broke last. Now, nobody bumped into him, and he didn't really stumble. He just kind of had a slow start. So he was in the back of the field early and then kind of had to go wide. He made a move. He ended up running second. He wasn't really a threat to win, but the winner of that race was Carbone, who's running in the Southwest Stakes today. What do you think about Lightline? The thing of it is I'm not really sure he's a closer. I think he could be a little bit closer to the pace today.
Yes, I think he could show more speed today. My concern probably the distance. I'm not sure he can get the 9 furlongs being a city of light, but yes, this group is, like I said, this group is not the great field. So if he break well, I think he has a shot. Why not?
The one thing I will note, you know, last year Hit Show went from Oaklawn to Aqueduct. It was a very slow time, and that Aqueduct track has a lot of sand in the winter. It's very slow, and sometimes I think it's hard for horses to ship without working out to run on that deep of a surface. That's my only concern, and especially at a low price for Lightline.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's just an angle. Seminole Chief, you know, upset winner last time out. I think a lot of people thought he was going to point for the Holy Bull. He did run at Finger Lakes in New York. Any thoughts on Seminole Chief shipping up the Florida bred here to New York?
Yes, I read that that was a change of plan, and yes, they just skipped the Holy Bull. My only question mark with this horse is that he didn't change leads last time out, and now he was facing Florida Breds. So that was a restricted race last time out.
The big question for me is Catane. You know, he had that big Keeneland win, stumbled at the start the last time. I agree with you. He has a shot. I did pick Catane in the Jerome. I ended up going with Uncle Heavy. I liked his win at Parks. I think he can come from off the pace. And I think at 1.125 miles, I just like some of the stamina things that he has shown a little bit. So I'm going to play Uncle Heavy in Exactas over Mission Beach and Speed Runner. And Siggy Mendoza is going to with Canate as his winner. And he likes Speed Runner and Society Man based on pedigree. And then you said Society Man in his last race. What was the trip note on him?
Yeah, he was very wide in both turns, and
Okay.
he lost too much ground.
He lost a lot of ground. So going
Yes.
1.125 miles and maybe a little bit of a drop in class this time.
Yes, he's still a maiden. I don't like to pick winners with a horse that is still a maiden. But I think he can hit the board. He can pick a second place.
All right, Siggy Mendoza going with Canate. I'm going with Uncle Heavy, a couple of prices. They should be about 10-1. Lightline and Mission Beach, the most likely favorites in the Wither Stakes. That kicks off our 4-pack today. Now we've got the Robert B. Lewis. We do have a potential scratch. They're talking about scratching Stronghold. Nysos is most likely going to be the favorite. Bob Baffert horses are not eligible for Kentucky Derby points, but they are strong in this race. He's got Wind Me Up. He's also got Coach Prime, and he's got the favorite in Nysos. Your thoughts on the Robert B. Lewis, Siggy?
Yes, Nysos. I'm not trying to knock Nysos in this spot. I think he has the best speed figures. He has the pedigree to handle the distance, and this time I think he's going to win this race. And the other horse just running for second. If I'm going to play an exacta, I'm using Nysos on top, and two kind of long shots underneath. I like Better Than Gold from Gary Mandela. This horse, when he broke his maiden, he was short. He was not at 100%. And we know horses, Mandela horses, tends to improve with racing. Indeed, in an interview before his victory, he said that the horse was green, he was still learning, And this is a horse that has a nice pedigree to go long, so he could close for second. And the other horse I like is Moonlit Sonata. This horse broke his maiden on his debut. His trainer is Team Jack Team. He's not known for winning horses at first asking, and he won that day. In the San Vicente, the horse had a bad start, and then he wasn't involved in the race. This horse also has a good pedigree underneath to handle the distance. His second dan produced a router named Champ Pegasus. He was a winner at 12 furlongs, 10 furlongs on turf. So I think he have the pedigree to go long, or at least to pick a piece in this race. So I'm going with Nysos to win, and Better Than Gold and Moonlit Sonata for second.
Yeah, I remember Champ Pegasus. He was a nice long distance turf horse. I a lot of times like to look at the second mare on a lot of these horses because a lot of times really good race mares, they are not good producers, but then I like looking at them as the second mare in analyzing pedigrees. Sometimes you can get some race and class information from that second mare. Coach Prime was bet down the last time. I thought he ran evenly. Do you think he can maybe improve a little bit off that effort? You know, his maiden win, even though he won by 7, the Bayer Speedfinger came back a little bit slow in that race.
Yeah, the Los Salamito Futurity, there's a quirky surface with not all the horses can handle that surface. So it's a race that you can take in with a grain of salt. I think this horse can go long. I think that the pedigree to go to run 2-turn races. It's a horse that you can consider for exotics also.
Siggy Mendoza joining us. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter. Also, he has a YouTube channel. What is the name of your YouTube channel? And you do your videos in Spanish, don't you, Siggy?
Yes, I'm doing my videos in Spanish for the Latin America people. You can find it on Sigue Mendoza Racing. That's all.
All
Sigue
right,
Mendoza
that's all they
Racing.
need to do is search for it. And, you know, I think that's a lot of very helpful because there's a lot of Latin American horse racing fans of America, and they like to follow American racing. So I think that's a good type of channel to really get out there and try to find those Spanish speaking and Latin American race fans.
Yes, indeed.
And you also host some spaces on Twitter.
Yes, sometimes at least on Saturdays morning, I have some spaces with Spanish people, exactly with Latin American people.
All right. I wanted to show the past performances of Nysos. 2 for 2. He won by 7 lengths. He won by 10 lengths. He's got big Brisnet speed figures, a 102 both races. He's by Nyquist out of a Bernardini mare. So definitely, I think a mile to a mile and 1/8 is going to be his best distance. And Flavian Prat has rode him the last race. And, you know, he really seems, you know, the one thing I liked about that last race is he did come a little bit off the pace. He rated nicely in that second win.
Yes, in his last race, he rated. Yes, I know he rated. But I think in this race, he can win gate to wire. Don't know who can go to the lead. Since Stronghold is likely to be scratch, I think this horse can win this race also gate to wire.
All right. Pedro says he is enjoying the show this morning. So our final picks, I'm going with Nysos. I'm going to play a straight exacta over Better Than Gold and Coach Prime. I agree with Siggy. I think Better Than Gold is one of those horses that is slowly going to improve. And maybe in the Santa Anita Derby, he could be a threat. I like the fact that Mike Smith is on him. I like the fact that some of these other horses might try to go after Nysos early. And I want a horse that kind of just going to lay back, maybe close up for second. So I'm going with Better Than Gold and Coach Prime. I do agree that Moonlit Sonata can improve off that second effort. I thought his debut effort at 33-1 was a big win. And that last race, it just seemed like he kind of was out there, didn't run his best race. Maybe something was off that day. But I think on the stretch out, Moonlit Sonata could improve a little bit here. So Siggy Mendoza going with Nysos. I'm going with Nysos. We're going to try a couple of shots for exactas. Now let's go to South Florida. We've got the Holy Bull Stakes. We do got a scratch announced this morning. No more time. 12-1 on the morning line was scratched. And Siggy, how do you see this race playing out in the Holy Bull?
Yes, well, the 2-year-old champ is back. And I see a short price in this race. I'm not trying to beat him. This horse has been working steadily for this race and find a field that really suitable for him. I think he's going to win this race gate to one. I'm using two horses underneath with some prices. I like Hades. I like Hades, number one. He's a Florida bred and he has been improving his number while adding more distance. His last race was really pretty good, and I think the distance is not an issue for him. At least 1 and 1/16 is okay. Also playing domestic product, the Chad Brown trainee. I am not considering his last race that was over a sloppy track, and I really like to see him in a fast track like Gulfstream Park. He's running without blinkers today. I really like this horse in a fast track.
Yeah, I thought Domestic Product was kind of rank in that last race. He was trying to tug the jockey a little bit, and I think the blinkers off could help him. You know, Fierceness won in the slop. Then he stumbled a little bit hopped in the air in his second start. He got a good trip in the Breeders' Cup. He's been working out for over a month, so I think he should be fit in this race.
Yes, also has been working with Locked in company and beating him, outworking him.
You know, a horse I want to take a second look at for the exacta is Dancing Groom. He ran third in the Champagne. Then he kind of went to the Breeders' Futurity, didn't really fire. I like the long workouts. I like the trainer. I think he could be priced here in this exacta. Dancing Groom could come kind of a lot like Better Than Gold. I think he's going to get better as they go farther. I like the fact that he's got some classy races on his resume. And I'm kind of just blacking out that sloppy track race a little bit. I don't know. I think Dancing Groom could improve a little bit here. What do you think about him? And then what about Otello?
Yes, he's a Vino Rosso horse. And yeah, his Champagne was a really good race. He was third by 10 lengths to Timberlake. He really didn't fire in the Kentucky Jockey Club. But he deserves a shot. I think he will close late in this race. And Otello is okay. He had a rough trip and won the Mucho Man Stakes. But I'm looking for a prize for second. I'm not playing Fierceness and Otello underneath because there is no value there.
The one thing I noticed with Otello, it looks like he missed a workout on the 20th or the 19th. He'd worked out on the 13th. He worked out on the 26th. I thought maybe they might go to the Withers, which there was talk of. Any concerns with missing that one workout, or maybe they just took a little bit of a break? He has run 2 1-mile races, and he won at Aqueduct and a Gulfstream.
Well, I really don't like when a horse miss a week. It's not a good sign.
So overall, that could be a reason
Yes.
why maybe he doesn't get second. Yeah.
Yeah, not a good sign that.
And I agree with you. You know, I think if you play in that straight exacta over Otello, you really have to just play that straight. That's probably $6-7. I'm going to try to get Dancing Groom. Let's take a look at our picks. For this race, we ended up going, you know, Fierceness off the layoff, Domestic Product. I think you liked him on the fast track. So the Holy Bull Stakes, it's a grade 3. Hades is at the rail. He's 2 for 2. Domestic Product, blinkers off. Otello 2 for 2. We are both going with Fierceness. No surprise there. I'm going with Otello and Domestic Product and kind of Dancing Groom for exactas. You're going to take Domestic Product and Hades for exactas. So the Holy Bull is the second of the 4 races. Fierceness, 2 wins and 3 starts. Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner. 105 Buyer speed figure, Siggy. And he was your number 1 pick in the Triple Crown Fantasy League. What are you thinking about fantasy-wise for Fierceness? Usually you don't go with these high-profile horses.
No, I was interested in Hall of Fame, but I finally, when the other guy picked Nysos, well, I'm going with Fierceness. But yes, I'm interested in other horses down the road, like Rhythm Violin. But well, he was wrong in the recent start.
All right, so Fierceness you're going with in fantasy racing. It's going to be a competitive league this year. Of course, next race up is the Robert Lewis Stakes, and Maycock's Bay, who ran a 95 Beyer, according to the Beyer speed figures the last race, he was scratched. He was 3-1. We've still got a field of 11, and it looks like on paper there's a lot of speed in this race. What is your thoughts on the speed, and how do you think maybe the pace could play out in this race, Siggy?
And now with the scratch of Maycock's Bay, probably there's no less speed. Um, I see Carbone being sent. He's the speed of the speed. I don't think Wingstock has the same early speed that Carbone. Carbone is built like more like sprinted oriented. And yeah, I think her Carbone would be the long speed. Wingstock probably a presser. I also can see Otto the Conqueror dueling in a big duel with his stablemate. That's why I think Asmussen choose Rosario, Otto the Conqueror. My only question with Carbone or Carboni is that he's my Mitoli and he probably could have some distance limitations, but this is only a mile and 1/16. Probably this is his limit. And he looks very talented. I like his last race. He didn't, he had a really good gallop out. I watched his strides and I did not see his stride shortening in the stretch, so that's a good sign. And well, I using him on top and just using some bombs underneath. Also, you can use those bombs in some pick threes, pick fours, but in an exacta play, I'm using Carboni on top and using these bombs, I'm using common defense. I really like this horse. In his debut, he was second to Latlon. Latlon is a horse that is proved on the Stakes Company. On his second start, he won by 3 lengths, really easy. Probably his numbers are still low, but the horse had a really strong gallop out, and he's trained by McPeak. McPeak is another trainer that his horses tends to improve with racing, and this horse has some tactical speed. I also using liberal arts. I really like this horse. He won the street scent on the slop. He's going to run to rain at Owland today. He could have a really nice setup for this race if Wingstock he really sent hard and Mystic Dan on other horse that has speed. He sent hard. Sometimes you see a pace scenario in the on paper, but in the practice is another pace scenario. In case I'm wrong and there is a pace duel in this race, I have two closers: common defense and liberal arts. Liberal arts. My only question with liberal arts is he really fully cranked in this for this race, and or it is just a prep for the rebel? But at least this horse would get a nice setup.
Yes, liberal arts 8-1. Pedro likes him as a son of Arrogate. Of course, last year we saw Arcangelo win the Belmont Stakes and the Travers Stakes. Liberal arts, you're right. He's only had 4 workouts, I believe, to get ready for this race, and really only a couple of 4 furlong workouts. They seem to have been sharp. Now, they haven't been on XB TV or anything, so I don't know about the gallop out. So you never know. Maybe they're doing a longer gallop out, and this trainer was a long-time assistant trainer who has experience.
Yes, he assistant trainer to Claude Magohi, if I'm not right. Yes.
Yes. What do you think? Ken McPeak, he usually shows up in these races. He seems to have a talent for finding some closers, and his horses sometimes go off at price. Common Defense is definitely one you can use. What about the coach, Dwayne Lucas?
Just Steel, I think that has some distance limitations. This is a horse by Justify out of Fastnet Rock Mare. That is Australian influence. And I think he will fade a bit on the stretch. I see him a bit flat on the stretch.
All right, Dan, one of our watchers, he likes Just Steel here. He says he's knocking on the door and he's ready to bang the door in. So, and then we've got John. He likes liberal arts. Pedro likes liberal arts. And we'll see if we get that 8-1 on
Yes.
liberal arts. You know, with Maycock's day scratched, I think liberal arts will probably go down to about 6-1.
Yes, he's getting love on Twitter, on the web.
Okay. Now, our top selections, we both surprisingly went with Carbone. Again, I think he's named after a race car driver, so I'm not sure if it's Carbone or Carbone.
It's a last name, no?
Yep, I think so. Yeah. So I'm going with Otto the Conqueror and liberal arts. You're going with Common Defense and liberal arts. Bedry says, what about Awesome Road, the 12 horse? You remember he did scratch out of the Lecomte Stakes. What do you think of Awesome Road's chances here, Siggy?
Well, he was scratched last night in the Leone Stakes at Thoroughbred. He was cross-centered. And this horse, on his debut, he showed a lot of talent. And in his last race, if I'm not wrong, he was the favorite. Yes, he was the favorite in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Well, he deserves a shot. This horse showed really talent on his early days. I really don't like too much the pot position, but I think he has a shot.
Yeah, the 12th post position, even with the scratch, is still 11. Now, with a horse like, you look at this field overall, and, I think a horse like Otto the Conqueror, I'm not convinced that he is a need-the-lead front runner. I think, he won in the slop. Last time out, I thought he set fast fractions, but they really had to go after that Iowa-bred Glenn Gary. Otherwise, that Iowa-bred, I think, would have went wire to wire in that race. They battled all the way around. They came home slow late, so the late pace rating was slow. But I think a horse like Otto the Conqueror is maybe just getting a little bit better every race, and maybe he can lay a little bit off the pace.
My only question is that the Remington Mile usually is not a key race. He usually don't produce Kentucky Derby horses. Probably Senor Buscador, he won that race a few years ago, but he didn't make Derby.
Let's quick talk about the Forward Gale Stakes. You've got Scalable. You've got a couple of other runners. Anybody that you kind of are leaning a little bit towards in that Forward Gale that you think could step up in the fillies?
Well, I'm going with the Woodbine filly. That
okay.
Is
with Waters
Rand. He's by Connect. Yes. I think he has a really good dirt pedigree, good dirt influence. He's by Connect. And he has been working really well on dirt. So I think he's going to run pretty well, has a good post position. There is some speed. He could be as strong as a stalker. I see Fiona's Magic with the speed. Harper Rose, another speedy filly. And she could get a really nice trip.
All right. So those are the four big Kentucky Derby preps. We've got the Oaks prep. The Las Virgenes was going to be tomorrow. They are moving that to next week because heavy rain is going to hit Santa Anita tomorrow. Now you've got Nysos, Fierceness, Carbone. You've got Canate at 10-1. Which of those four do you think is the easiest of the four winners, Siggy?
I think it's Nysos. I'm going with Nysos. Fitness is coming from the BC Juvenile. I don't know. But Nysos is really top form, and he looks really easy race for him.
Yeah, I think if Stronghold scratches, I think Nysos is probably the best bet of those four. Of course, next week we go to Tampa Bay. We've got Locked, possibly going to be running there. And the undercard today at Gulfstream, we've got Aries Magic versus Born Noble. So one of those two horses could maybe step up in that race.
There's another horse there trained by Safi Joseph. His name is Merit.
Yes, Merit.
Yes, he won by 10 lengths. He doesn't have the standout pedigree, but he really won by 10 lengths on his debut.
Yeah, he was nominated for the Springboard Mile. They elected to stay at Gulfstream. So you're kind of taking a little bit of a look at Merit even in that race.
Yes.
All right. Well, Siggy Mendoza, you mentioned you do some trip handicapping in your selections. Again, what should they search for on YouTube to find your YouTube channel?
Yeah, in my YouTube channel, you can find it as Siggy Mendoza Racing. It's a YouTube channel on Spanish. It's really for Latin American people who likes the American horse racing.
All right. Well, good luck today on your wagers. Ian says Fierceness is his best bet today of those four. I'm going with Nysos of those four horses. And I've got previews up of all four races you can watch on my channel today. You can watch the Southwest. We've got the Holy Bull, the Wither Stakes. We look at some replays, show some trip notes. We got one final question. What is your opinion of Bob Baffert starting a trend on horsemen passing on the Derby? Uh-oh, Siggy, I'm going to give this one to you. You're on the hot seat here, Siggy.
Oh, well, it's a really tough fight between Churchill Downs and Bob Baffert. I don't know how well this is going to end.
All right. Well, I think some of his horses are a little bit behind anyways. They just may be better horses for the Preakness and Belmont this year.
Really don't know. Probably Nysos and Coach Prime are his Derby horses. He has 14 horses, but not all his 14 horses are really Derby horses.
Mm-hmm. And we have somebody else that likes El Grandio. Long Ride likes El Grandio, the speedy New York bred, trying to stretch it out to 1.125 miles. That is a look at the separation Saturday. I'll be recapping it on my channel tonight. We'll have some thoughts on the four winners. And of course, you can watch my trip handicapping video. Siggy, did you watch my trip handicapping video and learn anything?
Yes, I used to watch your videos. Yes, the trip handicapping, pedigree handicapping. That's pretty interesting.
All right, so you're taking notes then, huh?
Yeah, ABC tickets.
Okay. All right. Well, Pedro, enjoy the day at the races. Hope you enjoyed the show this morning. Siggy Mendoza, Separation Saturday. Make sure to watch the channel as we recap it all tonight. All part of Separation Saturday, the first Saturday in February.
Good luck to everybody.